Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Enemy King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 29 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Remember to hit this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over in Enemy King 2 of What If Naruto Was a One-of-a-Kind Prodigy, and enjoy that guys. Remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, Naruto and Menmo were unconscious after what they did to take down the 100,000 white Zetsus. The masked man was losing it with rage, as a bulk of his army was now gone. He told Kabuto to prepare the Edo Tenseis. Meanwhile, the Raikage and Unki were stopping their pursuit. As this had gone on too much of their shinobis had perished trying to take those boys down and the forces. Those boys were like a one-man army. Their attacks were too detrimental. You could not fight them with a bulk force. They had to think about this in a different way. But they could not pull back. The enemy force were not stopping, they were coming for them. And if they were able to conquer more of the Earth Nations and Kumo, well, they would be done for. Naruto had a little chat with someone in his mindscape. It was the first wielder of his nature eye. The man could not explain to him what was the reason behind his emotions, but he also told Naruto that their eyes were not fully developed yet. None of them, well, him and the other one, Kaido, was not able to fully understand the true reason of their eyes, were not able to tap into the full power of their eyes. But he believed that Naruto would be the one to do this. He believed that Naruto can. Meanwhile, Menma was undergoing something else as well. He was in a vast forest. On the outside, Jiren and the others watched as he entered Sage Mode. Menma never learned Sage Mode from his summons, but he was able to tap into nature itself and he already knew Sage Mode. After all, he was a better Mokiton user than Naruto by far. As Menma was feeling the nature around him, he felt something different. There was a surge of power that he never felt before. Something was there. Meanwhile, Minato entered the battlefield. As the Edo Tenseis arrived, he teleported all the barrier teams and the sailing team all around. Minato was on his last leg after doing so much of his technique. After all, teleporting so many people at once, but he was Hokage and he can do it. He ended up collapsing where Naruto was, as a medic told him to take it easy, as he was exhausted physically and mentally after teleporting so much places, along with so much people, as he saw his son. As the medic told him that Naruto would be fine, in a couple of hours, his body was recuperating at an incredible rate, and he will be fine soon enough. Time passed as the reanimations were being sealed all over, until Gaara Group came upon a rather tough one, the third Raikage. They could not seal him. That was when Naruto finally woke up. Energized, he entered the battlefield along with Menma. As he took on the third Raikage, Naruto was able to tap into the Edo Tensei power, the chakra, the link, and find where it was coming from. He relayed that information back to his father, who sent Itachi and Fukaku, who were close to the location. After all, they knew that it was Kabuto. But the man was not threatened by Naruto, so Naruto told his father to take, well, caution. He must have gotten stronger. The masked man then arrived to put psychiatrical damage on Naruto, as he brought Shisui, Reanimation, and Meteor. As Naruto had to fight back everything, as his body was reacting violently. His emotions were not expressing to him, but his body was reacting that way. As he talked to his sister, she told him that she will always love him, and told him to tell the others as well. She wished she could have been here to meet their little baby sister Katsumi. As Naruto felt something drop on his hand, it was water, tears from his eyes. She was no match for him though, as he sealed her away rather quickly. As he faced off in Shisui was amazed to see his student, as Naruto had far surpassed him in almost every regard. As Shisui was sealed away, Kabuto was pissed off, as he decided to bring out the big gun. Naruto was strong, but he was not as strong as the past legends. Out in the far distance, the coffin was humming. It was blown off its hinges as someone stepped out. It was none other than the ghost of the Uchiha. So yeah guys, that's basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across the place to check it out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. We begin this new episode at HQ, where Minato and the others were. Out of nowhere, the spear that they were using to sense the battlefield started to wiggle. The water inside started to distort, as the sensor unit felt the drastic change. The man gasped, forcing the others to look over towards him. "What is it?" said Minato, as the bubble started to grow another, showing the mass fluctuation of chakra that just arrived in the battlefield. This is not normal," Hokage-sama, the man said. Meanwhile, as Naruto looked at the two sealed away Edo-tenseis that were none other than Mito and Shisui, he felt a change in the air, as two people currently walk up on the hill and glanced down towards the shinobi forces. One of them was known as the strongest Kazekage in his time, and that was the third Kazekage. Dark blue hair. He was dressed in a white cloak with a blue shirt underneath that went straight down, an obi wrapped around his waist, and black sandals. His face was devoid of all emotions. "So this is it," the next voice beside him said, sounding gruff and dangerous. There was a tone of power when the person spoke. "This is the forces that we are up against." Yes, indeed. Kabuto was using the third Kazekage to speak to Madara Uchiha, that was standing there in all of his glory. And him right there. He's the one I've been telling you about. Naruto, Uzumaki, Senju. As Naruto's eyes went up and locked gaze with Madara Uchiha, who folded his arms across his chest. "Uchiha Madara," said Naruto. Those beside him froze when they heard that name, as Gaara looked up. Everyone couldn't believe what they were seeing. So this mere boy has been stopping all of the efforts of us gathering the tail pieces. Pitiful, Madara said with nothing but disgust in his tone. Obito was completely failing in his task, and now he had to be brought back in this wretched form, which he didn't want in the first place. Without the flesh and blood battle was not really that wonderful, and everyone knew Madara Uchiha enjoyed a wonderful battle. He loved to dance. As long as you take him out and capture him, and kill his brother, everything should be just fine. As I told you, you're even stronger than your glory days. How about you show them that power of yours? Legendary Uchiha, said Kabuto. Before Madara could respond, a feet whipped through the air, forcing him to raise his hand, as he connected with it, throwing him back. Madara was surprised by the force as he flipped and landed gently. A brutal kick smashed right in the face of the third Kazekage. The speed was unnatural. As he was sent sailing down, he smashed hard in the ground. Kabuto cursed at that. As Gaara looked beside him, Naruto was no longer there. Madara smiled. It seems you want to dance, he said. And you're fast. I wonder, will you be a worthy challenge? You have the name of a Senju. Can you live up to Hoshirama legacy? Asked Madara. as Naruto's eyes were just focused on the man, as he could feel the power behind. This Edo Tensei was a lot greater than the others. Madara then took focus of Naruto's eyes, as he was a bit surprised. Those eyes. You possess the same eyes as Kaido Uzumaki. As he saw the look on Naruto's face. Yes. I know the second wielder of those eyes. What was it called again? The nature eyes, yes. Said to be filled with untamed power. But Kaido Uzumaki was a rather peaceful man. And because of Hoshirama's peaceful nature, I never got a chance to dance with him, to see if those eyes are truly what they say they are. As Madara's smile just increased. Well, it seems I was brought back to finally test myself against those eyes. So tell me, Senju, would you like to dance? Meanwhile, back at HQ, Minato and the others were silent, shocked, when they received the report back. Madara Uchiha. This was worse than they expected, as Shikaku couldn't believe it. Madara was said to be on par with the first Hokage. Naruto and Minma might be strong, and there are many other shinobis out there, but this was a reanimation at Edo Tensei. Someone with unlimited chakra, the damage that he could cause. Redirect the rest of the forces that are finished with the other Edo Tenseis to move towards the battlefield to aid in their assistance, said Shikaku. As Inoichi quickly passed on the message where Minma and the other group were. It didn't take long. What? Said Minma as he looked at Jiraiya in shock. Yeah, seems things just got a hell lot worse. Madara Uchiha has been reanimated. Naruto is currently facing off against him. The forces that are there are limited. We need to go and assist them. Alright, said Minma. Let's go. No hesitation in his tone. Meanwhile, as Naruto was kicked through the air and sent sailing, he crashed in the ground. He heard Kurama growling in his mind. This is a real deal. It's not like with that fake masked man. This is the real Madara Uchiha. There is no time for you to hold back a single second. Give him everything you got and try to seal him away. The way you're speaking, it's almost like you don't believe I can do it. Kurama did not comment on that. As Naruto looked towards Madara, who was just smiling, his arms folded across his chest. As Naruto slowly picked up himself, the others were busy fighting the third Kazekage. As Naruto rose back to his feet, I must say, you're stronger than the others. I must commend you as well, boy. You're not proven to be as I expected. You're better. And I finally have my chance to test those eyes, said Madara. But, can you live up to the name of Hoshirama? You want to see if I can live up to his name, said Naruto. Yes, I want to. Hoshirama was the only ninja in this world that was strong enough to face me, and yet you stood in front of me, with no fear or hesitation in your face. That means, you're quite strong yourself, after all. If you are his family, you must know about me indeed. I do, said Naruto. I heard you are quite the monster in the battlefield. Quite dangerous. Practically, the things I've heard, you're supposed to be out of my league. As Madara smirked at that, I see my memoirs have done me justice. You've been dead a long time now, said Naruto. Things have changed. The world have changed. And that cockiness of yours. As Madara was watching Naruto, he was changing. It's gonna get you killed. As Naruto enters Sage mode. Nature chakra. But this one is much feral, said Madara. As he unfolded his arms. Well then, let's see how well you can dance. As both of them shot forward, cratering the ground as they did. They met in the center as Naruto came the right jab, Madara ducked. He brought his hand up. As Naruto dressed back, the hand passed in his face. He grabbed right onto Madara's armor and yanked him down for a knee to the face. But Madara twisted his body and pulled Naruto with him as he crushed Naruto down to the ground. But before he could grab Naruto's throat, a fist connected with his armor plate, completely obliterating it. But yet Madara was undeterred. As he grabbed Naruto's head and picked him up, a brutal kick slammed into Naruto's chest, right where his armor was. The thing creaked, showing the kick strength. As Naruto flipped through the air as he flashed through hand sign. Sage art! Roaring flames, he said. He spewed out a massive red flame from his lip that took on the head of a massive tiger and roared down towards Madara, who dived forward. Fire style, he said. Majestic Destroyer Flame! The two powerful attacks collided, creating a massive tsunami of fire that swallowed the entire area. Smoke filled the entire place as the two attacks cancelled each other. Madara was impressed usually. It would take several others to cancel his jutsu with their water style, but yet, this boy fire canceled his own. He was indeed strong, but let's see if he was strong enough as Madara burst right through the smoke. He reached for Naruto's head, but Naruto ducked. Naruto brought his leg up, but Madara caught it. His Sharingan activated. He twisted Naruto around and smashed Naruto back in the ground, cratering it. But Naruto grabbed onto his side and flipped him and brought him down. The both of them broke through the valley. As they were falling, Naruto flashed to a single hand sign, ice release. Frozen touch, he said as he reached towards Madara's head. Madara moved his head just in time as Naruto's hand touched the valley as he was falling. The entire thing froze. As Madara took his eyes off Naruto for a second, that was a mistake, as a boot violently crashed in his face. He was sent singing as he hit the ground, a boom. He landed right on his feet. He spewed a massive flaming dragon up towards Naruto, who flashed through hand sign in mid-air as he slammed both his hands together. Lava release, he said. Titanic drill. Lava flooded his body as he spun right through the fire, coming down Madara move as Naruto's body impacted with the earth, obliterating it. He burst right under Madara's feet, coming up with a punch. Madara tilted his head as the force of the punch leveled the entire chasm. Just the force. Madara grabbed Naruto by the back of the head and pulled him forward. But Naruto turned his head just in time, avoiding the punch as he grabbed Madara's arm and flipped him over. Once again, they broke deeper down the chasm as the both of them fell down there. A second later, a violent explosion was heard as Naruto was sent sailing out. He was black-handed away by a strange, ethereal being, which was none other than the construct of chakra made by Madara Uchiha. The thing stood tall, its upper half, 4 arms. As Naruto landed on his feet, his Sage Mode still activated. As Madara stood in the center of Sano, his arms folded. Come on. I hope you can still dance, Madara said. Naruto rocked off from his position. As he reached Madara within seconds, his fist ripped apart the Sano, shattering it. As Madara blinked, as Naruto was in front of him, his face was caved in by the punch. As there was steam leaving Naruto's fist, throwing Madara through, as he was sent sailing and crashing before he flipped and landed upright. As Naruto's body got submerged in lightning, Madara's face was being recovered. As he saw Naruto appear beside him, he ducked, his Mangekyou able to protect the movement. He then twisted, but a feet lodged in his stomach. As he was keeled over, Naruto drop kick right on his head. His head smashed through the earth. Madara had to roll as Naruto completely obliterated the ground with a massive punch. The entire chasm collapsing on itself. Madara jumped back as he spewed flames from his mouth. As Naruto looked up, he slammed his hand together. A massive wall of crystal emerged and blocked the flames. Once they were gone, the wall of crystal transformed into multiple shards and shot towards Madara. Madara landed as he formed his Susanoo once again, as it blocked the shards. As Naruto stood there in front of him, Madara had a smile on his face. I'm impressed. Your speed, your abilities, the way you use them, is quite refined. Still, you've not shown me that you're yet on my level, said Madara, as Naruto looked at the man in a narrow gaze. Before that gaze turned into a smile, Madara didn't look down, as the whole ground was lighting up. Explosion release. Kamikaze explosion. The earth was blown apart. An explosion that shook the very chasm, and the ninjas, all of them felt it. The explosion went high up in the sky, a massive mushroom cloud. As Madara was disarrayed and was blown apart from the attack, he heard something whip into the ear. "Rasen Shuriken," said Naruto. As he arrived right in front of the man, his body caked in lightning, his speed abnormally fast. Madara's eyes twisted at that very moment. Meanwhile, Gaara and his group were able to subdue the intensity of the third Kazekage. He looked towards the ceiling team. They were still in condition to fight. "Let's move," he said. They had to go help Naruto right away. They quickly made their way. As they arrived towards the field, the place was nothing but a mess. As the place was ripped apart so badly, it seems like an army was fighting over here, but it was only 2 people. They saw Naruto's back was turned to them as Gaara made his way. He landed beside Naruto as he noticed a perplexed look on Naruto's face. As Madara stood across from him, his eyes were different. "And how did you get the Rinnegan?" said Naruto. As Madara smirked, "I'm impressed. You forced me to activate his eyes. That is a miracle upon itself. You are indeed strong. But I wonder," said Madara, "can you still keep up with our dance?" As he noticed Naruto's sage mode was gone. But after a second it recovered, as one of Naruto's clones that were gathering nature energy poofed away. "Kazekage," said Naruto, "don't get close to this guy. He can use those eyes of his to manipulate the biju inside of your stomach. This is your main goal after all, and we can't allow this guy to get his hands on them." Gaara gave Naruto a firm nod. "How do we do this?" he said, as he knew that this man was out of his league. But yet Naruto has been fighting with him, and Naruto seemed fine, more or less. "You and your forces stay back," said Naruto. "I'll handle it." "Naruto, I know that you're strong, but this man is Madara Uchiha. And not to mention with those eyes. I can feel the power he's giving off, and it's not anything normal." "I know that," said Naruto. "But you guys will be caught up in the attack if you enter. I'm gonna give it everything I got. If that fails, then you're all doomed," said Naruto. As Gaara knew that Naruto was not one to make silly claims, so what he was saying is actual fact. "When I do, you and your team seal him away," said Naruto. "Come on, let's get this over with." Gaara was hesitant, but he gave a nod, knowing that if Naruto was gonna cut loose, more or one of them would end up dead if they were too close. As Naruto's body started to spasm, electricity flooded his coils, every part of him. Gaara blinked as Madara caught a leg that was aimed for his face. "Your swift release is rather fast, but my eyes can see your movements," as Madara brought Naruto down. But before he could slam Naruto in the earth, a spear of ice impaled his shoulder, forced him to move back. He looked towards his shoulder as he saw the ice trying to encase his body. Fire chakra flooded through his system, melting away the ice. Madara spun around as he caught the arm that was about to rip his head clean off. He twisted and flicked Naruto as both of their eyes gazed at one another. As Naruto twisted his leg and brought it down. As Madara brought up his leg, the two colliding forces create a massive tremor that shook the valley. Both of them then vanished as they start to attack each other with such ferocity. Gaara watches Naruto through every single one of his bloodline out. But Madara was just a monster. As he countered, he attacked. A vicious battle happened between them. Naruto was powerful, yes, but he was not a Edo Tensei, and Madara was, with an unlimited reserve of chakra. Naruto's Sage Mode ran out once again, and another clone poofed away, giving him back that residual energy. But in the end, as a massive bright light enveloped the entire place, forcing everyone to shield their eyes, because the two powerful attacks collided. Naruto was sent sailing through the air as he crashed, breaking down an entire support beam. A giant rock construct. He broke right through it. As Naruto lay there in the ruins, his body aching. "He's strong," said Naruto. "I told you," said Kurama in an angry tone. He was frustrated about the entire thing. "Yeah, you're right," said Naruto. "Stronger than I thought." "Yes, it was a reason why he was known as the strongest Uchiha," said Naruto, as he coughed up blood. As Naruto looked into his palm, when was the last time he coughed up blood? As he lay there in the broken area, someone rushed over one of the medics, as she quickly started to heal him, as he just lay there allowing himself to be healed, even though his body was healed on its own. She was just speeding up the process. As Naruto looked to see Madara, his left arm was gone, his armor was broken, but it was being regenerated. The smile on his face was delightful. Madara went a bit overboard. His Susanoo flared up around him. "Come on, Senju," he said. "Don't tell me you're out of dance already. Let's see you use that power once again to block this." As he slammed his hand together, the Susanoo went through hand sign. As Naruto felt a surge of chakra but then it vanished. As Madara stood there, as Naruto watched, the clouds parted as a darkness swallowed the area. The few ninjas that were there paused. What the hell? Blades were dropped, swords were dropped, kunai, shurikens, as all of them looked up to see this isn't possible. As the sky was showing a massive meteor aiming right for them, Temari was speechless. As Gaara looked up with a shocked look on his face, a distance away. What is this? As the group was shocked as they were running, as Minma couldn't believe what he was seeing, a massive meteor dropped from the sky. Sesame started to panic. Naruto, she thought. As the meteor was coming down, the thing was large. Minma started to increase his speed as he ran ahead of the group, but he wouldn't make it in time. Naruto forced himself up as the medic was standing there in shock. Naruto created 5 wood clones as he gave them a large amount of his chakra. The first wood clone held up his hand as he created 10 Rasengans. 10 miniature Rasengans that started to enlarge themselves. Something then emerged around the Rasengans. It was a massive dragon. The dragon encircled all of the Rasengans. The thing was large as a 5-story building. The dragon coiled around the clone, surging with untapped power. The second clone held up both of his hands as a ball of flame started to form. The ball of flame looked like a miniature sun. Madara smiled when he saw that. He might have went a bit too overboard. After all, he wasn't supposed to kill the Shinjulkis. But he wanted to see the power of the Senju being brought out to its fullest. As the ball of sun enlarged, bigger than a massive dragon, as the clone held it over his head, the ground cracked and shattered under his feet. The third clone created a tiger of pure electricity. The tiger was growing in size as he poured all the chakra that he was given into the tiger, making it large. The thing was pushing everyone here up in the sky. They could feel the electricity on their body. Ninjas all around started to mold their chakra, seeing Naruto not giving up. They were gonna hit it with everything they got. "Prepare your strongest jutsu," said Gaara. As everyone was doing as they were told, they were gonna blow this thing up. The fourth clone started to use the chakra inside of him as a reactor. As he pulled all of that energy into one small ball in his chest, his entire body started to glow. For a cosmic explosion, use this explosion release. The fifth clone held up both of his hands, as he was also in Sage mode as he held up both hands. 2 massive Rasen Shuriken twist into one. The thing had 2 balls of chakra Rasengan swinging inside of them. Meanwhile, the original Naruto Uzumaki Senju stood there. As he held out his hand, veins were running down to his palm. He was pouring all of his bloodline into one attack. He had to give everything that he got. It twisted and turned until a black ball. A ball of pure black stood in his palm that was radiating with so much chakra his palm threatened to drop down to the earth, but he gripped his wrist. The clones then rocket off the ground, using a burst of wind. The first clone that grabbed onto the massive spear in the sky was the explosion release, and he went off, triggering a sizable explosion that ripped apart the meteor, the front of it to be exact. All of them then released their techniques. The shinobis around all engage as well as they release fires, wind, earth, water. As Naruto twirled the massive black ball, it slammed into the center as the explosion was so bright, everyone had to shield their eyes. The meteor cracked and it was wiped out of existence. It was turned into dust. As Naruto stood there on shaky legs, as Madara smirked, most of them fell on their butts, collapsing down. As they had used so much of their chakra they were exhausted, but yet, Gaara and a few others, including Naruto, they stood strong. But then Madara smirked. And what will you do about the second one, he said. Everyone froze. As the ninjas saw another meteor come from the sky, they couldn't believe it. Another meteor was coming down. As everyone froze in shock, Gaara, who had released a massive wave of his sand to crush everything, looked up in absolute fright, as they couldn't believe what they were seeing. As Naruto's Sage Mode had left him, the amount of chakra that he had just used, he had tapped into the power of the fox, mixing it with his Sage Mode to create such violent explosions. As Naruto stood in his mindscape, "Give me everything you got," said Naruto. As Kurama looked at him, the fox stood in front of him, as he simply slammed his paw on the ground, the earth cracked in the mindscape, as chakra flooded inside of Naruto's system. Kurama did as he was told, because Naruto was the only hope. Naruto's body started to surge with nothing but unkept power, his eyes glistening, brighter than usual. All of his pores flooded with energy. Despite his physical and mental exhaustion, he still rose right to his feet as Naruto's body burned away. 6 tails appeared behind him as he leaped off the ground. He crash landed in the meteor. His 6 tails stabbed into it and tore it. He then placed his mouth inside. All of that power instantly left his body and went towards his lips as he released it all inside. The ninjas losing hope, but they noticed the meteor started to swell until boom! It exploded. Massive chunk of earth falling, including Gaara raised his hand up, but he was kicked away violently by Madara, who launched himself towards Naruto to capture him. As Naruto was falling out of chakra, physically exhausted mentally, as he was falling down from the heavens, as he saw Madara coming towards him to capture him, looking quite impressed. But before Madara could reach him, an arrow shot from the ground. It ripped through several boulders before Madara had to twist as his left arm was torn off. As he was forced to jump away, a yellow arrow almost ripped right through him. As Naruto felt someone caught him, before the person jumped on the boulders that were jumping down, hundreds of jutsus were launched by the arriving forces, obliterating the boulders that fell from the sky. As Naruto was gently placed down to the ground, as he looked to see Sesame, she was in a strange yellow construction like Madara's. As Susanoo, her eyes were not the normal Sharingan, they were a petal, a flowery petal pattern, 4 petals that came together. As he looked up to see who was holding him, as it was none other than Menma. Sesame deactivated Susanoo as she rushed forward. She instantly collapsed right at his side. Naruto, she said, as she took his hand. Thank you. As she gave him a smile. I told you before. I'll always be here for you, she told him. You've done enough, kid. It's time that we tapped in, said Jiraiya. Yeah, he's right. As Naruto glanced up towards Menma, he could not argue because he could not move. His body was exhausted. For once, I can't argue with you, said Naruto. He's strong. Beyond strong. You can't hold back a single second. Give him everything that you got. As Naruto passed out, as he succumbed to his exhaustion. Meanwhile, Kabuto was smirking to himself. It didn't matter how much they try, none of them will stand a chance. If Naruto could not block those meteors, he would have forced Madara to capture him and protect him. After all, they still needed him, and also the Kazekage. But he almost had him. But it seems like there was still Uchihas out there that awakened their special eyes. The moment he said that, the wall that he was hiding behind exploded, forcing him to move. As he looked around his base that he was currently in, two pair of red eyes was currently in the shadows watching him. As they stepped forward, Kabuto was surprised. They had hid themselves very well. Itachi Uchiha, Fukaku Uchiha, and how exactly did you find me? He said. That does not matter, said Itachi. You are the caster of this jutsu, and we intend to end it right now. Kabuto chuckled at that. I would like to see you try, he said. Both men, knowing how dire the situation were, did not hesitate as their eyes changed. Itachi's eyes switched into a shuriken-like pattern. Hearing about his best friend death had changed his eyes a long time ago, but there was no need to ever use it. As for his father, well, he had these eyes from the Second Shinobi War, but he never told anyone about them. He had kept them to himself, reason being, at that time the Uchihas and the village were not in a good standing. And with the power that he possessed, his council would have wanted to do some dangerous things. If it wasn't for Minato taking up the mantle and killing Danzo, well, he wasn't sure how things would have turned out. As he also activated his Mangekyo, his daughter Sesame. When they first found out about Naruto's death, he had saw the change in her eyes. It happened so quickly. He had saw it though. She'd awakened the Mangekyo, and that showed him right there and then. The thing that she had for Naruto was deep. She loved him. But they had a job to do, and that was to end this man. To stop the reanimation once and for all. As Kabuto smirked as he raised his hood. Well then, Uchihas, let's see if you can, he said. Meanwhile, it was absurd. It was crazy. One man faced off against the army as he was completely obliterating them. Madara was moving like a machine on the battlefield, his power out of this world, showing once again that he was not a normal person. As his power was showing to dwarf those in the battlefield, Naruto was unconscious as he was brought away. To recover, he left it up to them, but this was proving to be a difficult challenge as Menma clashed against Madara. Trees sprouted up everywhere as they both attacked each other vigorously. But Madara was proven just to be a lot stronger as he created a larger form of his Susanoo. As he now had a wider target to focus on, he was no longer facing off against one person. But he was not the only one that Susanoo. As Sesame joined into the fray, Sasuke didn't have the same eyes, but that didn't mean that he wasn't powerful. Jiraiya activating Sage Mode. They clashed with him, but yet the monster still fought them off. Meanwhile, as Naruto was floating in water, all around him, was he floating or was he drowning? He wasn't so sure. His body was still exhausted from what happened. Even in here he could feel it. He wasn't even sure where he was. That man, Madara Uchiha, was indeed a monster. More so. It was the toughest challenge he has ever faced so far. No one else, Nagato. The paths, they didn't compare not even one bit. Madara Uchiha was truly worth his title. Naruto thought that he was strong, but this man was incredible. He had to give him praise at least for that. Praise my enemy. Well, that's something that you would do. As Naruto turned to see Kurama, he was indeed here as well in this empty space. Did I die? Said Naruto. Kurama scoffed at that. Where are we then? Said Naruto. Your idiotic mind brought us here, said Kurama. I did this. Why? How should I know? As Kurama lied down as he placed his head on his paw. Strangely, despite the dire situation, you enjoyed that battle. It's been a long while since anyone has been able to push you that far. But in the end, you lost. Did I really? Said Naruto. I used up most of my chocolate to stop those meteors. As Kurama sighed at that, I told you that he would be strong. Stronger than anyone that you ever faced before. Yeah, you're right about that. Soon enough, my father and everyone else will make their way here, and they will bring the rest of the Edo Tenseis. Madara might be strong, but against the whole world, he's bound to slip up, and they're bound to seal him away. I wouldn't be so sure. He was still holding back against you. His Susanoo, it was not perfect. What? Said Naruto. It has a perfect form because of his eternal Mongita Sharingan, and he has not used it yet. You couldn't call me out because he used those damn eyes of his to control me. I have faced it in the past, and I know how to face it. But we have to work together to do so. I thought we were already doing that. No. Completely trust one another. Huh? Said Naruto. What? Said Kurama. Nothing, said Naruto. You just sound different. The situation is really that dire, huh? As Kurama simply snorted. Thanks, said Naruto. Kurama narrowed his eyes. Why are you thanking me? He said. For trusting me, and saying we're gonna work together fully once and for all. I've been looking forward towards this. For us to become true friends. We've helped each other in the past, but we've not fully bonded with each other yet. So how about it? Let's become one, huh? Don't say things like that. You sound like a sap, said Kurama. Huh. Do I? Said Naruto. Well, guess I need to be a sap in this moment, so you trust me so we can become full friends. Kurama snorted, until Naruto saw a fist in front of him. As he smiled. As Naruto actually smiled. Meanwhile, outside in the real world, the medic that was watching over Naruto's body, along with the few others at guard, she saw that his body was returning back normal. She felt his chakra returning back, but the force that it was coming in was nothing normal. She watched as his skin color returned back normal instantly. He was a bit pale after using so much chakra, but now he was fine. But he still wasn't waking up yet. His body was recovering faster than expected. Meanwhile, outside, blood was running down Minma's face, as he was currently in sage mode. Madara had markings over his body after he tapped into that power. It was on the chest where Hoshirama's face stood. He was using the first sage mode as well, tapping into it even more now that he was facing off against them. The forces were split, hundreds, maybe thousands of trees. Madara had created 10 good clones. They were battling his forces. One of them had so much power it was just incredible. He had told his father they would be able to handle this. It seems like he was. He was snapping his thoughts when Sesame was sent sailing away. As Madara arrived in front of her, he gripped her by the throat and slammed her in the ground as she coughed up blood. It would have been much better if you joined me, but yet, you stand against me, so you will simply perish with the others. Madara had to move as Sasuke came in with his blade, forced him to jump back. As Madara grabbed the blade, before drop-kicking Sasuke as he crashed away. As Jiraiya and others jumped in, as Menma panicked as he picked himself up, they were losing. They were losing. He then remembered that power that he felt. He needed it the most now. He needed it. As he was currently still in his siege mode as he dropped down to the ground, he placed his hand on the earth. Wherever this nature angel was, he needed more. He needed more to win this. As he started to tap into the power of nature, this time he went farther than usual. Vines broke from his palms and injected themselves in the ground. As Menma collapsed down to his knees, his eyes shut. Menma found himself in emptiness. There was nothing around him. Absolutely nothing. As he looked around confused, there was nothing here. Nothing anywhere but power. It was... "Hello there," said the voice. Menma froze at the voice. He looked around. "Do you come to take my power?" The voice asked him. "Who are you?" said Menma. "Me? I am no one. And I am nothing. And at the same time, I am something and I am someone." "Your nature." Quite smart. "Yes. I am nature. Everything around you." "Never before has one tapped into my power so much. You're quite different. Is it because you need it to protect the ones that you love?" "Yes," said Menma. "If you do not get my power now, those who are trying to kill you would use another means, and it will affect nature, bringing back something that is violent, corrupted. And I do not wish for that to happen. That is why, if you are able to tap in my power this far, I oblige you to go deeper. I oblige you to submerge yourself in nature and become one with it. For you and I, you and everything to become one. Become the ultimate sage." Meanwhile, Naruto wasn't sure what happened. He bonded with Kurama, and now he was in front of himself. But it was not him that stood here, it was a younger version of himself. "You promised me." "Who are you? What do you want?" said Naruto. "Can't you see I have a battle to go and win? You promised me. But you lied. You promised me. And you won't forgive me. Why won't you?" "What are you talking about?" said Naruto. "You promise. But I see that you're a liar. You told me that they would pay for what they did to Mito." As Naruto was surprised to hear that. "You promised me that you won't stop until all of them were dead. That you would make all of them pay, including that masked man. But you haven't fulfilled that yet." As everything came slamming into Naruto like a train. "So that's it, isn't it? That's my promise. That's why I won't forgive myself." As the younger one looked towards him, as he started to walk away, "Wait," said Naruto. But Naruto's hand was grabbed by Mito? "Mito," said Naruto. She shook her head. "Not yet. You can't yet. You need to continue on. You need this power to win this war. Live on, brother. I don't want you to die. It will be hard. But you can't. You can't. Not just yet." "What do you mean I can't?" said Naruto. "Please, just go." As she pushed him. As Naruto watched his younger self walked away. As Naruto fell. All around him was colors. All around him was colors. The colors of his eyes. He heard words. "You're the only one I believe can tap into this power and use it fully. You, Naruto Uzumaki Senju, you're the only one. Despite not having your feelings, you use this power to protect the one that you love. And it's time. Tap into this power. Control it. Submerge yourself with it. Become one. As veins underneath the eyes started to spread. The veins were all colored. Blue, green, yellow. Everything. As Naruto felt this surge. Back in the real world, everyone came to a stop. When the place shook, two violent chakra output started to spread across the nation. As Madara smirked, something was coming. Meanwhile, the masked man appeared as he clenched his fists. "Damn you, Kabuto," he said. But the place started to tremble. "What is this?" he said. From two different areas, something was coming. Madara smirked. "Yes, the dance is not over. Let's continue, shall we?" But guys, be in sub right here. If you want the next part, then do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications they posted. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.